Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is the 16th of July, 2025. These are the stories that we will be highlighting during the course of the show. We'll begin with the relationship between Pakistan and China, of course, in the context of the recent Council of Foreign Ministers meeting of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization that was held in China. And of course, our Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister, Ishaq Dar Sahab, represented Pakistan there. He met with many leaders, including the President of China, Xi Jinping, Wang Yi, the Chinese Foreign Minister, and many other of his counterparts from other countries across the region as well. We'll be discussing the importance of this mood. We'll also be discussing the importance of the bilateral meetings that have been held on the sidelines in our first segment with an exclusive guest. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns India. Narendra Modi's Lieutenant Governor of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir finally takes responsibility for the Pahalgam false flag operation, the terror attack that happened there. And of course, he says that this was a security lapse as per his, but he does not know where the perpetrators are. Anyways, Manoj Sinha has come up with this statement, and this is coming with a lot of flack, not only by the opposition leaders in India, but also by Pakistan's politicians as well. We'll also be talking about Indian NSA's fabricated narrative that also reflects his failure in Operation Sindoor, and we'll be telling you why we are talking about that. We'll also be talking about, in our third story, Brazil, who has paused talks to buy India's Akash missiles, and this is really linked more or less with its recent failure in Operation Bunyanu Marsoos, and of course other operation failures that India has been culpable of, let's put it that way. Next story, we'll be talking about Gaza. At least 61 Palestinians, including 2 aid workers, have been killed recently. In fact, 21 aid workers have been killed in the last 24 hours, and 51 others have been killed as well. The fact is that the number of casualties keeps on increasing, despite the fact that there is still a glimmer of hope as far as the peace talks between both the sides are concerned. Trump is going to meet with his Qatari counterpart to discuss that. In fact, whether it will reap any dividends or not is another question altogether. Next, we'll be talking about Pakistan, that has been removed from the United Kingdom's air safety list. So now the Pakistani airlines can safely operate direct flights from Pakistan to the United Kingdom. This is a huge development after what had happened during the not the previous, but in the government between 2019 and 2022. Next, we'll be talking about Pakistan, that has gotten the highest coverage of tetanus, diphtheria, and pertussis as per the United Nations, in fact the World Health Organization. And in fact, this is very important because the children need to be inoculated against all the major diseases, which brings us to poliomyelitis, wherein our health minister also talks about Pakistan, that is still one of the 2 countries that are still affected by the polio virus. Lastly, we'll be talking about Severance, The Penguin, and other important TV series and TV films that have been nominated for the Emmy Awards that will be broadcast in September in the US. This is the lineup for today. Let's begin with our first segment that concerns Pakistan-China relations, the CFM meeting of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. We have the privilege of having with us His Excellency Khalil Hashmi, Ambassador of Pakistan to China. Thank you very much, sir, to have joined us. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Let's begin without further ado. How, in your point of view, does Pakistan view the growing strategic and economic coordination with China under the framework of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, of course, in the context of the visit and the participation of our Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar Sahab?
Thank you very much for having me. I think the visit of Deputy Prime Minister to attend the CFM of the SCO went very well. It was very productive. We were able to put across our point of view, our perspective on a range of issues, whether it is connectivity, how do we see the Eurasian region in economic terms, on security issues, and so on. On the sidelines also, the Deputy Prime Minister met his counterpart, Foreign Minister Wang Yi, Foreign Minister Lavrov, Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi from Iran, and also the Foreign Minister of Belarus. But he also interacted, apart from the structured engagement, he also interacted pretty much with everyone except the Foreign Minister of India, of course. So all in all, I think these occasions are important for representational reasons, but also, I think, from a substantive point of view. So there were a number of things that were discussed, and I assume that you're going to ask about them, so I'll stop here.
Of course. And that brings me to the next question, which of course you wanted to answer right now, and that depends on the ambit of discussions that were held not only between the Pakistan and the Chinese leadership, but also between the Pakistan Russian, Pakistan Iranian, and Pakistan other leaders meetings that were held, and they were very productive as per you yourself, because you were part of the delegation that was present there as well.
Indeed, I think it is a very well established practice that on regional or multilateral meetings, when leaders meet, for example, just last week there was the ASEAN Regional Forum meeting and so on. So this provides an opportunity not only to member countries, but observers to share their views on a number of regional international issues. And at the same time, such meetings also provide opportunities to connect with your counterparts, to also exchange notes, to update each other on the ongoing, whether there are some projects or some consultations that are going on. So I was part of all these meetings, and I can tell you that each one of them was very productive, very result-oriented, and some of these meetings, for example, the meeting with the Foreign Minister Wang Yi is special in the sense that today he mentioned specifically that he was meeting for the most part, more than 5 times. Our Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister, the only one that he had met so many times in this year. So that speaks to the very close, not only relationship, but close communication and close coordination between Pakistan and China. So all these meetings, whether meeting with Foreign Minister Lavrov, Foreign Minister Wong, Foreign Minister Arakchi, Foreign Minister of Belarus, and brief interactions with the Foreign Minister of Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, and Secretary General of the SCO. They were all very forward-looking, very positive, and very productive.
Ambassador Saab, I would also like to understand, in the current scenario of China always backing Pakistan in times of need, there has been a constant diplomatic support for our country from the Chinese side on international forums and otherwise as well. How can both the countries, Pakistan and China, further consolidate their partnership in the SCO to ensure a more balanced and multipolar world order?
There are 2-3 aspects of which I would like to shed light on. So, first of all, I think Pakistan is an active member of the Belt and Road Initiative. All members of the SCO, except India, are members of that network. Pakistan hosts the flagship initiative of BRI, which is the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. So this is essentially a connectivity tissue of the overall vision of China for economic development of the Eurasian region, but also its adjacent regions, which are Central Asia, South Asia, Southeast Asia, and so on. So Pakistan and China being very close and special friends, they have very strong convergence on a range of regional and international issues. So connectivity is one area where we have demonstrated that by working together, many things can be achieved. So the results that CPEC has yielded are obvious. I won't repeat into that. So infrastructure and energy projects, these are things now we are, both Pakistan and China are looking at ways to extend CPEC to Afghanistan. Afghanistan is an observer member of SCO. But we are also working with the Central Asian states. So connectivity is an agenda. For example, soon you will see Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Uzbekistan. They will be signing a framework agreement on railway connectivity. So that's another connectivity-related agenda. But these are things, just to give you an example, CPAC or connectivity projects, they are foundational elements of a regional order or a regional and by extension global stability and security. Because as we know from experience that peace, development, and security, they are interconnected and mutually reinforcing. So without uh, peace, it is very hard to pursue or even, develop economically. And without economic development, it is, very challenging to sustain a system of security and long-term stability.
I totally understand and I totally agree with your point of view, Excellency. I'd also like to understand, Ambassador Khalil Hashmi, what opportunities, because you are there in China and you have been representing Pakistan since, so effectively and since a large number of months. How do you see Pakistan leveraging its all-weather cooperative partnership with China in the coming months to further regional stability and the shared economic goals? Because economy is what we are also discussing during the course of this conversation, through or under the ambit of the SCO.
I think both Pakistan and China, as I said, they have very, very strong convergences on a number of regional and international issues. So on the regional plank, when it comes to regional connectivity or initiatives related to economic development, we need instruments like development banks. So Pakistan and China, they both strongly support the establishment of an SCO development bank and SCO other financing instruments, so that the projects like railway, road, or energy or connectivity, they need to be financed and they require large sums of financing arrangements. So this is what the two countries and working with others in SCO are working hard to make sure that there is an early consensus, so that this bank and other related instruments pertaining to investment, for example, investment funds, they can be created. So this is one aspect of it. The other, I think, aspect is to have more over time, more trading arrangements between the SCO member countries. As you know, right now, SCO comprises 10 countries. There are more countries which have applied for its membership. There are dialogue partners. There are two observers, as I said, Afghanistan and Mongolia. But it is now, SCO family is a family of 26 countries. So there are dialogue partners like Saudi Arabia, UAE, Turkey, Azerbaijan, etc. So I think it's a large landmass and large group of countries, whether members or dialogue partners. So they have multiple initiatives. For example, many of these countries are also members of the Economic Cooperation Organization. Some are members of BRICS countries. Some are members of other regional organizations, Gulf Cooperation Council. So they each member and each regional or sub-regional organization, they bring with them their own strengths and their own expertise and experiences and financing tools. So I think by working together, this is how international organizations they work and synergize their efforts. So Pakistan and China being very close to each other and with having synergy of views, I think they can, and they are already playing an important role in building bridges, in pursuing joint proposals, whether on connectivity, economic and sustainable development, and other on a range of other security-related issues which are part of the SCO agenda.
Thank you very much, Excellency, to have given us such a brief and comprehensive outlook as far as the Pakistan-China collaborative partnership and brotherhood is concerned, and of course what has happened at the SCO and how important that was from a Pakistani and from a collaborative Pakistan-China relationships perspective as well. Thank you very much, sir. That was Ambassador of Pakistan to China, His Excellency Khalil Hashmi, talking to us in detail about the recently concluded Council of Foreign Ministers meeting of the SCO and of course Pakistan-China relations and what should we expect in the coming months. More after a short break. Welcome back. Our next story concerns India and how finally Modi's Lieutenant Governor of the illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir has taken responsibility for the Pahalgam false flag operation and the terror attack. We've been joined by two guests to discuss that. Maheen Shafiq, who's right here in the studios. She's a regional affairs expert, and Safi Ghori, who is also an international legal expert, who will be joining us online. But before we begin the conversation, let's take you through a short report prepared by my team.
In a dramatic turn of event, the Lieutenant Governor of illegally Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, Manoj Sinha, has broken his silence and taken full responsibility for the Pahalgam attack that claimed 26 lives of tourists. The attack that was quickly blamed on Pakistan without evidence is now being acknowledged as a security failure by the very man in charge of the region's safety. The admission made in an interview with the Times of India has triggered a political storm. Opposition leaders across India are demanding his resignation, questioning why it took nearly 3 months for the confession and who in Delhi is trying to protect him. From the Indian National Congress to the National Conference, calls are growing louder for accountability. The Congress stated that the maintaining law and order in occupied Kashmir is the responsibility of the Modi government and it should be held accountable for the security lapse. Pakistan, meanwhile, has reiterated its demand for an independent international probe, a call that now resonates with deeper urgency.
Our first question, of course, is with our guest in the studios, Maheen Shafiq. Maheen, thank you very much to have joined us. Manoj Sinha's public admission comes after a very long hiatus, after so many attempts to kind of botch it all under one guise or the other. This security failure in Pahalgam, this false flag operation in Pahalgam, how does it expose the Modi government's false flag narrative that it has been propagating over the decades?
Thank you so much for having me on the show. This is a very important development regarding the Pahalgam incident and how India was trying to frame Pakistan for the attack and the incident. Firstly, this deflects attention from Pakistan and Pakistan's role that India claims is in this incident towards India and its internal security failures, and as well as the BJP government. This not only highlights the internal failures in a region that is highly militarized zone, but this also exposes a repetitive pattern we saw in the last Pulwama attack. Similar claims were made by the Governor General of the region, Satyapal, who also claimed that the issue that the incident of Pulwama was also a security lapse. And we have seen this incident happening again. So this kind of exposes a repetitive behavior within the region, and it is very easy to analyze this because this is not only a single incident that's happened within India. The repetitive pattern within India is being exposed repeatedly with human rights violation in the region, with media blackouts, with cutout to communication, with putting all of the political representatives in the jail, and now this claim or regarding the incident of Pahalgam also highlights that another repetitive action is exposed by the Governor General of the region. Not only it highlights the failure on their part, but several internal opposition parties, also the party of Umar Abdullah's, asking for accountability, asking for justice for what happened in the region and their failures. So overall, this highlights how India was behind the whole incident and deflects attention from Pakistan's role.
All right, how has the Modi government, in your point of view, I mean, everybody knows, but how has the Modi government failed to provide credible evidence linking Pakistan to the first flag operation in Pahalgam and Pakistan's so-called, quote-unquote, alleged involvement in this incident? Don't you feel that everything has been laid bare for the world to see, observe and reflect on?
I think the world is becoming very clever towards Indian narrative and how Indian narratives frame. The EU Disinfo Lab exposed how this has been going on for decades, and now this also incident highlights that the international community is very well aware how India operates, how the government operates, what is the BJP's mindset. And now this incident is clearly exposing the Indian narrative is a false fabrication throughout the incident. Pakistan, several times the Prime Minister, Foreign Minister, former Foreign Minister asked India to cooperate, showed the intention to cooperate and investigate on this matter. We not only called for investigation, joint investigation or neutral investigation, but also to talk and sort out these issues. But we have seen not a word from Indian side regarding this, because India thinks this is beyond the subject. India is not willing to talk to Pakistan. In New Delhi, Islamabad is not on the table to be discussed about.
Of course, because it does not want to discuss, because it has so many flaws in all of its narratives regarding Pakistan, and all of them are based on hollow ground. Safiullah Khan Ghori joins us online. Safi, thank you very much. Barrister Safi, thank you very much to have joined us. What are the issues of the Indian opposition parties demanding Manoj Sinha's resignation on Modi government's so-called credibility in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir?
Sorry, can you kindly repeat that question? I missed the first part.
I said, what are the implications of the Indian opposition party, especially the Indian Congress, that has come really hard as far as Manoj Sinha's resignation is concerned on Narendra Modi's credibility, and it's his government's credibility as far as the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir is concerned?
Absolutely. So I think, Umar, it goes without saying that his credibility has been substantially tarnished. We see from every angle that he's being criticized. The economy of India is failing. The security lapses of India are failing. The diplomatic front that India has suffered on is now on the verge of collapse. And we see that, after the so-called Operation Sindoor that they have carried out, they have suffered tremendous humiliation from all fronts. And we just see them gasping for air. So the opposition is obviously utilizing this in a very timely manner to tarnish him further. And I can only hope that the Indian public responds to this in a positive manner in the upcoming by-elections that are taking place in various states. I hope that the response of the public is one that reflects this increased annoyance and this humiliation that India is going through at the hands of the present government. And it's very well timed, in my opinion. All of these things are going to help bolster the failing opposition and also tarnish the reputation of the present government.
All right. Let's stay with us. Mahina, I'd like to understand. Ajit Doval also gave a recent statement, and he was talking to the IIT Madras students about the so-called Operation Sindoor, and he said, show me one picture or piece of evidence that proves any Indian building was damaged. And this contradicts the statements by many military leaders who have repeatedly admitted to aircraft losses and damages. How does Ajit Doval's denial of damage during Operation Sindoor contradict these admissions by India's own military leadership? Don't you feel there's such a huge contradiction?
Most certainly there is. I think what he's trying to imply is that the window wasn't damaged, but the jet was damaged. So maybe no window was damaged. So that's what, I mean, if you want to kind of say that whatever he's saying is true, then maybe the window wasn't damaged. But what about the 7 jets that were damaged? What about the S-400 batteries that were damaged? And this is not us claiming. These claims are also supported by the Dassault, the provider of the aircrafts, that they claim that at least one of the aircraft has been shot down, and the S-400 batteries have been, the components of the the batteries have been damaged. This highlights Pakistan's capabilities of actually conducting a strike within Indian region and targeting what India claims that ghar mein ghus ke marenge. I think it goes the other way as well, that we can also do the same.
Of course, and we have shown that we can do that to India and to the world as well, that Pakistan cannot be just it's dismissed as India has been doing through its statements over the years. All right. So, Safi, are you with us? Safi, this narrative of Ajit Doval and the Indian military leaders that are so contradictory, what does it say about the credibility of India's national security claims?
It's fantastic, the fact that you're raising this question, and this is something that not only I and you are discussing, but I think it's being discussed right now on a global level. The very fact that India had built up a substantial web of lies all over the world, which is now being exposed. Earlier, at least one would think that Indian social media is a joke. Then we started finding out that Indian media, Indian mainstream media, is also a joke, because they started making claims on the day of the war that they have invaded Karachi and they have invaded Lahore, and that led to this huge burst of laughter on a global scale, where everybody was now understands that Indian social media and mainstream media are absolute jokers. But the most interesting aspect, as you are saying, comes when the Indian state itself, when the Indian military itself, when senior officers from the Indian military are going up on press conferences and are making statements that are then being proven to be false. That they cannot answer when they're asked questions like, "Did you suffer losses?" They're saying, "Oh, losses are a part of war. Of course, we suffered losses." Not directly answering even their own media, answering anyone else's media. And the problem is now that this has become pervasive of India. Like, even if we were to just leave aside the fact that fine, India had some national security problem when it had a war with Pakistan, and maybe it does not want to disclose all of its losses of the S-400s and the BrahMos depots that were damaged and the Uri camp and all of those things. Even if we were to leave aside those things, thinking of them as matters of national security, why are they not giving us information about the Air India jet that crashed recently?
Questions that and so many other disasters that have recently happened, Safi. The thing is that there are so many things that are happening on the Indian front that India does not know how to handle that. They have, construed this whole bag of lies against Pakistan, and now that all of it is getting exposed, the results are there for see. Speaking of results, my next story is very interesting, and that comes all the way from Brazil, where Brazil has paused talks to buy India's Akash missiles. They were about to, and now this has been paused. This has been highlighted by many important medias across the world, including in Turkey. Safi, I'd like to understand Brazil's rejection of the Akash air defense system. What does it reveal about the outdated nature of the Indian military technology, particularly when it compares to other technologies such as, for example, Turkish technology?
Right. So I think, so I'm here in Sao Paulo right now, Umar, and I've been attending parts of the BRICS conference. So I want to tell you both sides of the story. So what the Brazilian government is saying officially is that the Akash missile technology is just not good enough. It's an outdated technology. It fails to perform against, let's say, Turkish drones or against anything else that's presumably a threat. So therefore, they want to pause or at least not buy the Akash missiles. That's the official story, and that is the diplomatic story, so to speak. That is what you will sell the whole world if you don't want to buy from another country. Just say that the technology is not good enough. But the reality is actually far more sinister. The reality of the matter is that when this time around during the BRICS conference that took place here in Rio de Janeiro, it was pointed out by many people that there is a Trojan horse amongst us. Now, what is this Trojan horse that we speak of? What is this virus that infects BRICS that we speak of? So the BRICS represents the aspirations of the global South. It represents more than 60% of the global population and more than 50% of global GDP. It is the world's second largest organization after the United Nations, and it is a massive and a very important organization in that it is representing the lower income countries. Now, India, for a very long time, tried to present itself as a champion of the global South by consistently trying to say that because they themselves have such a high population of lower income people, they are supposed to be the leaders, and that's the rationale that they have used to try to pitch themselves for a United Nations Security Council permanent member seat as well. That is what they go around telling the whole world, that they stand with the poor people of the world. But when it comes to BRICS, suddenly we see that the treatment that India is getting is very different from the rest of the world. So what do I mean when I say the treatment is different? I mean the way the United States wants BRICS to be down. Now, this is a publicly stated aim by Donald Trump himself, by Marco Rubio, all of whom have said that BRICS will be punished, that there will be no authority that is allowed to stand against NATO and against the United States of America, that the idea of a BRICS currency is going to be completely decimated by the US, and that they see it as an existential threat to their own existence. So when we talk about this existential threat coming and this behavior of the US, we see that the US has lived up to that threat. They have sanctioned Russia. They have started a trade war against China. They have put in massive tariffs on Brazil. They have put in tariffs on South America. The only country they seem to be hand in hand with is India. And that is what the BRICS is waking up to. BRICS is waking up to the fact that the rest of us, who are all poor, are being exploited by the West, by the global North, and their man in the room who is giving them all the information about us, who is telling them how we are going to try to stand up on our own feet, is India. And this new realization that BRICS has is causing countries like Brazil to cut military ties with India. The not buying of the Akash missile system is just a symptom of the greater disease. It's not just the Akash missile system. They don't want anything to do with India. The fact that India cannot be a part of any BRICS monetary union, the fact that India cannot be a part of any mutual BRICS trade union, these are the real issues that is causing the whole world to understand that India at this moment, as it stands right now, the Indian government is just a stooge of the West, is an extension of the Israeli Zionist thought, and they themselves have been implementing it at home, and they're trying to implement it on their neighbors. And people understand that the reason why BRICS is failing is because of one country, India. So that's punishment, but I'm foreseeing many more punishments to come.
All right, stay with us. Maheen, I'd like to understand this refusal of the offer by Brazil as far as the Indian Akash system is concerned. How does this reflect on the defense export credibility and seriousness in strategic partnerships when it comes to India?
India has been trying to build up this image of one of the most fastest growing technologically advanced country in the world, and all of its defense exports, the relations with the US, all of this highlight, as my colleague has mentioned, highlight that India is more towards the US, and the defense equipment that it is getting is more from the US, from the West, from France. But we've seen in the recent Pahalgam incident and after the May 2025 conflict, despite getting all of these sophisticated technologies, India's military training, the credibility of their training services and their fighter jets is very much weak. No matter how much India tries to portray itself as one of the largest defense exporter and importer, or trying to be one of the largest defense exporter and is one of the largest defense importers, India's own capabilities of using that equipment is still very minimal. And I don't think there is further need to explain how this is actually true, and evidence is laid bare in front of you just past a few months. And now the question is coming into play if India is on trying to or attempting to become one of the greater power in the region. The question of China comes into the play. If India itself cannot defend against a smaller neighbor, how is it going to defend against China? So the whole idea of presenting India as one of the growing military power, or even if in the region, not in the world, is miserably failing because of all the powers that are in the region, considering Pakistan and China.
That is so true, and I'd like to say another nail in the coffin, rightly put at the right time. Thank you very much, Maheen Shafiq, to have joined us in the studios. If you could stay with us for a couple of minutes while I end the show. Our next gentleman concerns Palestine, the Middle East, Gaza, and the constant constant brutality that is being perpetuated by the Israelis on the hapless people in Palestine. Safi Ghori continues to join us for this segment as well. Safi, when you look at what is happening in Gaza, when you look at the humanitarian aspect of it all, the people who are being denied food, water, aid, and whoever goes to aid centers such as the GHF is being attacked by the Israeli forces. I'd like to understand how should or why isn't the global community responding effectively to the mounting evidence that has been provided by the UN and international NGOs such as Amnesty International, which says that starvation is being used as a deliberate tool in this war.
Omar, I read a harrowing stat a few days ago, and the statistic was that more people have been killed by Israeli soldiers. More people have been killed by Israeli soldiers who were standing on food lines waiting to get food than there were people who were killed by Hamas in their October 7th attack. More people just trying to wait for food. That's it. They're just shot dead like that. And this is something that is open for the whole world to see, as has been said by even the International Court of Justice, that this is a live streamed genocide. We are seeing every moment of it, and yet we are doing nothing. I don't know the answer to why we are doing nothing. We are very clear on the fact that all laws, the International Criminal Court, the International Court of Justice, even all local courts, local bar councils, everybody has no doubts about the fact that laws have been violated. The laws of not just international laws, but laws of local countries, laws of the United Kingdom, laws of Europe have been violated. So here's the question that we ought to be asking, right? The International Criminal Court is a court that is based in Europe. The International Criminal Court issues warrants. Yet the president of the European Union goes and says that Netanyahu is her great friend and their great partner in peace. So their own courts are saying something, and their own leaders are then going and saying something completely different. Why is this the case is something that I think the whole world is now trying to figure out. Is there something that we have not been told when we studied international law and politics? Is there something that we have not been told when we were informed that there is going to be a rule-based order, that maybe there is going to be a separate rule for a separate bunch of people? These are obviously, this is the reason why there is this despondency amongst, at the very least, lawyers like myself, who feel like everything that we were taught is a lie and does not have any sanctity whatsoever. But also, moving on, I see this as an existential threat to the very existence of these countries who upheld themselves as the light bearers of the global rule-based order. I don't see that happening anymore. I see this as a permanent stain on their hypocrisy, and I will not ever stand down thinking that somebody else from the West is going to tell me on how my moral conduct should be, what human rights should be in Pakistan, what human rights should be, what the freedom of expression should be, what laws should exist. I don't feel like they have lost all credibility now. That's just an
All right.
unfortunate.
All of this, it is quite unfortunate with all that is happening, the people that are being killed left, right, and center, and being concentrated into small camps as well. I'd like to understand, is there any hope for peace talks? Donald Trump is going to meet with the Qatari Minister for Foreign Affairs as far as the ceasefire negotiations are concerned. Is there any hope?
So the problem with all of this is that Donald Trump is not the one who can make this decision. The only person who seems to be able to make this decision is Netanyahu. And even where Donald Trump has tried, Netanyahu has rejected his calls. And we have a history of not just Donald Trump trying and failing. We have a history of Obama trying and failing, of Bush trying and failing. Every US president has failed in front of Netanyahu. There's this one singular element, and all of them admit it. And we also know very clearly that their own people do not stand behind them when it comes to the matter of Israel. We know that the entire cabinet of the United States right now, the entire cabinet is pro-Israel and is a declared Zionist. We know that every single member of the US cabinet has taken more than $800 million of funding from APEC. Sorry, $800,000 per person, but I exaggerated the million. But at least $800,000 per person by the entire cabinet has been taken by APEC. I just don't see them having sufficient powers to be able to refuse Israel, because they are all been bought out, and very clearly so. The problem is they call us corrupt. We talk a lot about how corruption is a big problem in Pakistan, but think about it, Umar.
Leads to a
I mean, honestly,
whole bigger issue. Safi, that leads to a whole bigger issue, but unfortunately we're short of time. We'll come back to you with that as well in a later show. But the fact remains that the situation is dire, from a humanitarian point of view, and from any point of view, from a judicial point of view as well, and from for the people of Palestine. Thank you very much, Safiullah Khan Ghori, to have joined us all the way from Sao Paulo in Brazil. I'd just like to end with what former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert said when out the confinement of 2 million Palestinians to a small area inside the southern Gaza Strip, whether it amounted to a concentration camp. He said it is a concentration camp. I am sorry. I just like to end this segment on that. Next story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns Pakistan, that has now been removed from the United Kingdom's air safety list. This means that all the flights from Pakistan can go directly from Pakistan to any city in the United Kingdom. Following air safety improvements, the United Kingdom's Air Safety Committee has lifted these restrictions on Pakistani carriers, all Pakistani carriers. Now they will have to still need to apply for permits to operate to the UK through the British Civil Aviation Authority. A statement was also taken out by the British High Commission in Islamabad on this very context. So good news for Pakistan there. Next, ladies and gentlemen, Pakistan gets the highest coverage of tetanus, diphtheria and pertussis as far as United Nations statement is concerned in the year 2024. And this is extremely good for Pakistan that it is doing the needful. There are so many health related campaigns that go on throughout the year, but Health Minister Mustafa Kamal also tells the Senate that Pakistan may become the only country in the world having polio virus. So that is an issue of concern, and that is what we need to look into as well. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, Severance, The Penguin and many other series are leading nominations for the television's Emmy Awards. The psychological thriller Severance from Apple TV Plus, HBO's crime drama The Penguin are on the top with 27 nominations each. The White Lotus and so many other series are also in contention. Harrison Ford has been nominated for the very first time. So has Ron Howard, who is now a director but has become an actor for the series The Studio. So of course this will be a very interesting competition between so many fellow actors, and let's see who runs atop when this ceremony is of course telecast in the month of September in the US. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end of Newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with news story segments that pertain to us, you in Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.